This stretch of graves will be exhumed to give way for the 8-lane express highway. They will affect 3,746 graves. However, this is only the beginning, as in the land use plan from the Ministry of National Development, in 30 to 40 years' time, all the 100,000 graves will be exhumed and transformed into a housing estate. The Shell station of the Bukit Brown in Circle Line, currently not in operation, is the best indication of the government's intention. Many famous Chinese pioneers were buried in Bukit Brown Cemetery, such as Ling Chongpang, we have the Chongpang village; Chu Juket, we have the Juket estate; Ga Hing Seng, we have the Ga Hing Seng School and Hospital, as well as Chu Boon Lay, we have the Boon Lay New Town, and many others that indicate strong historical and cultural heritage values. Furthermore, this will affect the biodiversity, including 86 species of birds, 12 of which are vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered. That indicates its biological values. Many people from groups like the Singapore Heritage Society, Singapore Nature Society, Asia Paranormal Investigators, and SOS Bukit Brown, as well as from the general public, became volunteers trying their best to prevent the government from making a regretful and pitiful decision. Many of these people are working or studying, yet they are willing to spend not just money, but also time and effort. They will gather money to publicize on the importance to preserve Bukit Brown Cemetery. They also spend time to conduct talks and putting up banners. They even conduct tours to let more people to know more about Bukit Brown Cemetery.
Yeah, I saw actually quite a number of articles about this cemetery and the project of highway actually going to split this cemetery. So this is why I decided to come here and visit this one of actually oldest place in Singapore.
To look at, since it's some kind of heritage, and that we know it will be destroyed within the next month, so we want to take the chance to see it before it gets destroyed and demolished.
Which is a pity in our eyes.
Yeah, this is our first time visiting this Bukit Brown Cemetery.
We came here because I have a school project on Bukit Brown Cemetery, and I needed...
What have we learned? What's
What?
the oldest grave?
The oldest grave was in 1833. The biggest grave in this cemetery and maybe in Singapore is Ong Sam Yong's grave.
I think that we have to take a short break from this and think about why we need to do this and whether it is necessary. And then I think that's why a lot of the people on the ground are asking for a moratorium, which is to take a break and then let's rethink this. And also I think it's very important that we need to do an environmental impact analysis. Needs to be done on this area to find out how much biodiversity and environment we are going to affect if we're going to build a highway through it. And then only because with that kind of information that we can really understand what we're losing or in exchange for a highway, I think that's one of the things that we are very concerned about. And I think most of the people here who have expressed concerns, I think they are concerned that this place with all its natural forests and scenic environment is gonna be destroyed if we don't we are not careful of how we're gonna plan. So I think what we're asking for, I think what we're thinking of that the government should do is maybe we should all start discussing why these things are important and help the people understand this, and maybe I think then so that together people can actually build a better Singapore and a clearer vision of what Singapore can be. Yeah, I think what happened here is we're not very sure why we need a highway, because I think a lot of people don't see the traffic problem as that bad. It's very normal.
I think it all started way back in 2006 when my brother Charles Goh, he founded the Asia Paranormal Investigators. So he conducted this kind of he conducted tours, like the Lost Heritage of Singapore tours. So those are like the last kampong of Singapore, the first zoo of Singapore, and even Bukit Brown was one of the stops in his tour. So he asked me to help out in his tour. So one day I joined one of his tours, and when I first came into Bukit Brown, I was actually quite surprised at the old things that I can find. For example, I was walking when I stumbled upon this Tao Guang grave. No, those with Tao Guang grave means it's 1820s to 1840s. You know, how many things so old can you still find, you know, in Singapore? So I was surprised at the amount of, this kind of history and this kind of heritage that you can find here. So I decided to do more research on this area. So since 2006, I do more research. I managed to uncover more and more tombs. And since 2007, I went to get a specialist heritage guide from the STB, and I began to organize tours. Initially, it's not so frequent. It used to be maybe we organize tours every month or every 2 months, you know, mainly for some organization like community centers or youth group or schools. Then when the government announced that they want to build the road, they have plans for Bukit Brown, that is when I decided to train more guides to lead, because I want to let the wider public be more aware of the heritage and the value of this, because this is whereby the first foundations of the modern Singapore is being built. This is where our pioneers, you can find the pioneers here, and these pioneers are not only these are pioneers from all walks of life, because it is a government cemetery. It is without regard to which dialect group you are in, yeah, and it is without regard to your social status. Of course, those who are wealthy one, they can have more elaborate place. But as I say, this is a government cemetery, so you have the elaborate one, you have the simple one. In fact, this is the whole pokari of people way back, the very first few pioneers that come with Sir Stamford Raffles to Singapore, to the last burial in 1972 December. In 1973 January, it was closed for burials. Now, saying this, not only we can find all these pioneers, the history is intertwined with our neighboring countries, and also because at that time it is our own unique culture, our own unique a way of the fusion between the Chinese and the local born, you know, and so they have a various kind of a way of life, right? We call it the Peranakan way of life. And not only that, we also have because at that time Singapore is also actually one of the overseas Chinese used to support a lot of the revolutionary activities. So in fact, this is where this kind of Chinese heroes, you know, last time you want to support Sun Yat-sen, you risk your head being chopped off. This is where this kind of Chinese heroes actually help the cause of revolution. So you can find all these heroes, more than 30 we have checked, buried actually in Bukit Brown. As I said, it is a government cemetery. Then of course, if we talk about the founders of banks, founders of schools, and all also is buried in Bukit Brown. And because the history of China, we are also intertwined, because a lot of our immigrants come from China. So each tomb tells a story of the movement of the pioneers coming to Singapore. Each tomb tells a journey. So you can see the transition change, the phase of change of China, from the tombs starting as early as Tao Guang, after that is the Tongzhi, after that is the Xianfeng Tongzhi, then after that is the Guangxiu, then the Xiantong, and then the revolution. So all these tombs, the Qing dynasty is indicated here, and then the Japanese occupation, Wangji. You know what is Wangji, right? It's the Koki years, 2,600 over years, so we can find 2602. Few people know, and then we can find the Confucius calendar. So we can find a lot of all these calendars, and this is unique in the world. You cannot find all this any other way. And of course, there is a saying, 山高皇帝远. So a lot of these Chinese immigrants, when they come here, you know, you can see the statues. They have the special kind of statues that sometimes you cannot even find in China. And then you can see a lot of dragons. You can see in the past you're not allowed to have this kind of statue. But here it's very far away from China, so you can see all these different kind of mix. And every tomb, the architecture, of course, a lot of them are imported from China, but every tomb architecture here is very different and they fuse local. You can see the seat guards, you know. Just now I have not seen you the seat guards, but there are more than 30 pair of seat guards. Seat guards because last time they joined this, the colonial army and soldiers are actually made of the seat guards. They are very fierce people, you know, with the turban and bushy beard. So the Chinese merchants have a lot of respect for their royalty and for their bravery. So even after death, they install them as guardians instead of the traditional golden boy and Jack lady. So this whole heritage that you can find here, and it is not a very big place. It's only, the Bukit Brown itself proper is only 170 acres. And within it you can find the history all over from the 1820s to the late 1970s, late and to the early 1970s. In fact, and all these are just been uncovered. A lot of history is been uncovered since 2006. In fact, Ong San Leong grave is rediscovered in 2006, and I found the 100 over graves that is relocated from SGH, former SGH. There's a very old Chinese cemetery relocated here, and these are the tombs in 1820s, 1830s, 1840s. It means that they are the first batch of pioneer with accompanied Sir Stamford Raffles to Singapore. So you can see the amount of history and heritage, and if you listen carefully, you can hear the birds. 1/4 of the bird species you can find in Bukit Brown, including I think some threatened species of birds. You can find fonda. The monkeys are not here, but you can see monkey. You can find bats up there in the tree, spiders, all kinds of wildlife. And this is so close to the nature reserve at the Merici. So I think there are a lot of grounds that consider and that make this as a place, as a heritage park, whereby Singaporeans, you know, we are a very young nation. We do not have a lot of roots, so they can really learn. They can feel, understand their history from where they go, and perhaps they understand themselves and understand how the nation is being built, and finally they truly understand this. What do we mean by this is my country, this is my home? Yeah.